The biggest mistakes of event week happen before event week even starts. 2 weeks out, your job changes. You're no longer in planning mode. Everything you plan now actually has to get locked down. Confirmed, made final, put in writing. There are 5 things to lock down and they go in a specific order. And the 5th one is something that saves you when something shifts mid-week, because something is always going to move. You've been to an event that ran well. Maybe it was a conference or a retreat, and it was clear that everybody knew what they were doing. Sessions were running on time. The room was set before anybody walked in. Someone always had an answer for any questions that were made. And it looks like the team was relaxed, like everything was easy for them. What you were actually looking at was a team that used that final stretch to start pinning everything down. Now, the months planning leading up to that are important, but those last 2 weeks leading up to the event are their own kind of work. You're not deciding anything new anymore. You're taking all those decisions that you've already made during the planning process, and now we're finalizing them. We're getting them confirmed, counted, and written down where people can find them. There are 5 pieces to that, and here they are. Reconfirm everything, lock in your final numbers, finish the day of plan, put a name on every task and make sure that people know who to call, and set up the one document that everyone trusts. So let's look at lock 1. Every venue, every vendor, every speaker gets a fresh confirmation. Time, place, and what they're delivering. And here's why this goes first. That yes you got back in April, well, a lot can happen between April and the last 2 weeks leading up to your event. The person who confirmed might have changed jobs and nobody thought to tell you. Your speaker might have just said, sounds great, back in month 2, but they never actually specified what time they were actually going to be arriving. That venue contact who walked you through the whole loading process might have a new manager who has changed the process. And let me tell you how I learned about this one altogether. Back in my corporate days, actually one of the last few events I worked on, we had been chasing our hotel contact for a menu for weeks. And finally, we got the email that we had been looking for. And my manager, who was based in Dublin, I'm based in DC area, she'd gone through, gave it a quick scan, had a few questions, and had fired back an email relatively quickly. And it was before I was logging off for the day. By the time I logged off, she had received a bounce back email notifying her that the very person who had just sent her this email was no longer with the company. And so the next ping that I got on my phone was her texting me, letting me know that our contact was no longer there. That fast. That is how quickly something can change. We hadn't been warned that he was leaving. The person who we had gone back and forth for every detail about our event was just suddenly gone. And then we then spent the afternoon trying to chase down someone at the hotel to find out who our new point of contact was for our event that was taking place in just a couple weeks. It was a mess and none of it was ours. And to be fair, in most situations like this, the venue will notify you in advance, or at least give you a heads up, help you with that transition from your original point of contact to the next one. In this instance, we did learn that not only had we been blindsided, but the venue had also been blindsided. But this story is proof of how quickly things can change. People change roles, details drift, and not all of it reaches you. A fresh round of confirmation helps you catch all those things. That way you still have time to correct anything that might go awry. Time just passed, and really that's all it takes for change to happen. One of the good things about bigger events, especially with hotels, is that a lot of the times they have something called a pre-con where you actually sit with the team members and you can go through things line by line. The room sets, the catering, the audio visual, the tech needs, all of it. Now I'll be honest with you about the time that this takes. Sending that email with confirmations is an afternoon task. But getting everything back is not, because you're dealing with real people, which means you're waiting on their response, and there's going to be some back and forth. But this is exactly why it is the first thing that you should be doing as you get to the lead up to your event date. Now, before we get into lock 2, everything I just walked you through is the difference between feeling handled and actually being handled. And if you want an honest read on that across your whole event, I have something for you. The Event Pulse Check is a free assessment that walks you through the different areas of your event. You get your results and it'll show you what areas you could probably use a little bit more focus on. The link's down below whenever you like it. Now on to lock 2. Every number that's been living as an estimate becomes a real number. Your head counts, your meal counts, your materials, room sets, all of it has been roughly right all year. And roughly right was fine as we were planning. But it stops being fine now because other people are making commitments based off of it. Your catering guarantee has a deadline, and that deadline does not care that changes are still coming in. A dietary update here, a cancellation there, somebody's assistant asking about a substitution. It doesn't matter. Whatever number you give them, that is the number that you are paying for. So you settle your numbers into the counts everybody needs. And you do it before the deadline forces you to guess. Because the alternative is you picking some random number at 10 at night and hoping that you rounded to the right direction, and then paying for 40 lunches that nobody eats. And one more piece to this lock is the money that comes with those numbers. Your final counts change your final invoices. And a lot of vendor balances are going to come due right around this window. So check what's landing and when so that nothing surprises you during this week. Lock 3, the day of plan gets finished and shared. This isn't the agenda that your guest sees, this is the operational version. What happens, when, and who's doing what. And that includes the first 30 minutes that a lot of people skip of what's going on with your guests when they arrive. Where they walk in, who greets them, where they go, and what's happening while they're trying to figure where they're supposed to be. And this is the one that genuinely can't really be done too much in advance, which is why it belongs in this window. Because it depends on all those decisions you made ahead of time. And so it can only be finished once those decisions have been finalized. And right now that plan does exist, but it's just living with you. You know how the day flows, you can see it, but your setup crew has one piece of it, your AV team has a different piece, catering has a third, and nobody has the whole picture except for you. Which means that on event day, every piece of it is getting narrated live by you giving direction. Written once, that plan replaces a whole bunch of conversation, and writing it is only half of the walk. Once it exists, you need to walk through it with everyone. Your team, your vendors, your venue contacts. Like I said, hotels actually have something called a pre-con, which is a great time to go through this document with them. But it's important to get everyone together, especially your team, so everybody hears what's going on and they hear the same thing at the same time. You can run your version of it in one call, and that plan is locked in when everybody is on the same page. Next, every piece of the event day gets a name next to it, and everybody knows how to reach each other. Now, most of these assignments already exist. The person who's already been handling catering is probably going to be that point of contact on the day of. You're just mostly making it official so that everybody else knows who the main contact is for those different pieces. But what you're actually checking here are for the pieces that currently has nobody handling them, like check-in or laying out the materials in the conference room, meeting the photographer, all those kind of in-between things of the bigger picture. Because any task that doesn't have a name is probably going to default back to you. So go ahead and put your names on them while you've still got time. And some of them will probably still sit with you, and that's completely fine. The difference is that you chose them instead of just naturally inheriting them by default. And then make sure that the reaching each other part is also handled. You want a contact list with your venue, your vendors, your speakers, and your team members. For some teams, a WhatsApp group will do this beautifully. You can have your setup crew in one, your venue contacts in another, your check-in desk can have their own chat. Whatever fits how your team and your people will communicate with one another. Because at 9 in the morning on event day, an event problem should not take hours to figure out who to get in contact with. You shouldn't need to scroll through 3 months worth of emails to figure out who it is that you need to contact. So it makes sense to go ahead and build this now that you've confirmed all your speakers and everything that we did in lock 1. And so now lock 5, and I want to be clear with you because I know the word lock can be a little bit misleading with this one. And that is a document that you can trust. Nothing about an event freezes. Things come up right through doors open at every event at every level. A speaker's flight changes. Somebody develops an allergy. The room you were promised suddenly got reassigned or is out of commission for some reason. It happens at every event, including the ones that are taken care of by a huge team of people. So professionals, they don't bother trying to stop things from changing. What they lock down is how everybody finds out about those changes. One living document that is always the current one. Every change happens within that document so that the current one is always the current one. And on site, that document is live. People are going in and out of it all throughout the day. And in addition to that, whoever that change actually affects should probably get a text message of some sort, just in case they aren't able to get into that document immediately for whatever reason. But by having that document, the trap that you're avoiding is that change only lives within that text message just to those people. The message makes sure that all the relevant people have been notified, but the document keeps everyone honest about what is current. Because here's what happens without that. The room changes reaches catering, but it never reaches the AV team. So the lunch moves, but the microphones that are needed for the speakers who are talking during the lunch don't. 2 different versions of the schedule end up cycling, and both of them look official. Somebody is then acting on information that was changed 2 days ago versus the one that was changed just an hour ago. And every change costs you a little credibility when it travels badly. And those last 2 weeks leading up to the event always include lots of changes. And that's the lock that saves your week because things move, but this will allow them to move cleanly. So that's the 5 locks. Reconfirm everything, lock in your final numbers, create your day of plan and share it, assign the tasks and make sure that you get people's contact details, and have the one document that everyone on your team can trust. And none of these are complicated, but real thought needs to go into each of them. And some of these will take a couple of days because you're waiting on responses from other people and walking through things with other people. And that's exactly why you want to start these at minimum 2 weeks out and not start doing these 3 days out from your event. And again, the order matters, so let me go back through why. Reconfirming comes first because everything that comes after that depends on knowing what's actually true. There's no point in finalizing numbers or vendor arrangements that were made back in June if something has changed without anyone telling you. Numbers come second because other people's deadlines are driving them, and those dates won't move for you. Day of plan comes next because you can't write down who's doing what at 2 o'clock if you don't know what's happening at 2 o'clock. Names and phone numbers come fourth because you need to know who all you're dealing with or who all is confirmed to be on site, which you get from those previous assignments. And the one document comes last because it keeps all those other 4 current all the way through doors opening. But if you only have time for 2 of them, make sure you do the first 2. Reconfirm everything and close those numbers. Those are the ones that cost real money when something slips up. Remember that event that ran well where you thought everything was easy? These 5 locks are what they did before you even walked in. And now you've got them too. Now all 5 of these work best when they actually live somewhere. One place for every confirmation, every number, Every name and every change stays visible straight through the event week. That's the next conversation, and it's on your screen right now. Go ahead and click it.